So what's next for Penn State? Obviously, it has some serious legal issues still to deal with, possible lawsuits and huge monetary settlements, not to mention a major image problem. But also high on the list, the beloved football program. What does or should the future hold for it? Well, that'll be the focus of this next segment. I want to introduce now Dr. Sue Cornbluth, who is a psychology professor at Temple University. She's the national foster care and adoption expert for Examiner.com, which is an online newspaper, and the author of The Ambiguous Foster Child. Also joining us now is Gary Cobb, who's a former NFL player, who's now a sports journalist and a sports radio host for Philadelphia's 94 WYP Sports Radio. Good to have you guys part of the discussion. We are here to debate what should happen to Penn State. And I do want to remind you that we're still joined by Tom Klein, who's an attorney for victim number 5 of Jerry Sandusky. I want to start with you very quickly. Should this program be postponed indefinitely or canceled at least for this season?
Penn State should make a proposal to the NCAA rather than waiting for the NCAA to come down on it. It is inevitable that there are going to be sanctions, they're going to be harsh, and Penn State should make the first move if they were smart. If
they had a great public relations department behind them. Gary, you think that there should be some sanction against this football program?
Very much so. I mean, the vital thing they did was they put the football program, obviously the dollars, the image and everything, above the welfare of some youngsters. And this is supposed to be the essence. They talk about character. They talked about doing things the right way and the image they tried to portray. Well, they violated that more than anybody else. I mean, I think about some of the teams that have been put on, sanctions. Guys were getting tattoos, at Ohio State.
Had a free car to drive or
something,
right?
Free car to drive. But, I went to USC. And Reggie Bush lived in a house with his mom and his stepfather. They put the whole program on probation, took away his Heisman Trophy, took away a national championship for that.
Okay, so Sue, I know that you are one of the leading experts that we've had on this program on child abuse, and yet you don't think it's fair for these sanctions to go in place and penalize people today who had nothing to do with the crime.
I do think, however, that some sanctions definitely need to be taken here. But I think, as a professor, I know the culture of being at a big school and how much the students look forward to these football games. And I feel, why should the people that were not involved in this have to suffer for other people's despicable behavior? And they have already been removed from the program.
Well, that's always the case. See, Reggie Bush was in the NFL, and now, USC was suffering. That's always the case. Terrell Pryor went to the NFL. His university is suffering. The coach went to the NFL. The university is suffering. There are always penalties that are laid down on the university after the people that perpetrated them went on to the NFL. That always is the case. So that's not really an excuse. And the fact is, it's about the dollars. Really. This is about the big money that they didn't want to risk because of the portrayal of seeing the university have a scar on it. They cared more about that than these young men. They really treated them like they were just trash, just throw them away. And to do that year after year, you figure somebody would have said, enough. I mean, 14 years.
I think this
how could it be a more severe violation of what the NCAA stands for? They violated it in every way.
I'm not saying that they didn't violate it, but let's say that this happened in an academic program at a university, say in a psychology department or a mathematics department. What would happen would be the people that were involved would be removed from the program and a whole new regime would come in.
Yeah, I know, but see, it's
but
a little different.
But you wouldn't stop teaching math.
I would not.
Or whatever the program was.
Right, you wouldn't close
that department
completely.
Right.
But see, it's really different here because, see, this is big business. Really, I have some problems with the way, the NCAA runs things anyway. Because this is all about money. They say it's not about money, but really it's all about huge dollars. They say Penn State brings in $50 million profit a year.
But see, isn't that part of the climate that needs to be changed? Yes. Not just at Penn State, but across the country.
And the only way you can change it is to make them pay.
We put athletics at such a high premium in this country, and we put these athletes on pedestals, and we put the coaches on pedestals.
That's right.
So much even so the NFL, the same way, Gary,
No doubt about it.
But so much so that people suffer, and then they go go, oh, well, we can't ruin the football program.
Well, who is really paying here? I mean, there are kids that got recruited to play at Penn State, and that's all they wanted to do their whole life.
Correct.
And now if the program is shut down completely, they're not going to have that opportunity to do that. They may not be able to go to another university.
But if they don't do something very severe, what that says is you basically can do anything.
Well, I'm not
because
saying
the money's
they should do
rolling
anything.
in, because you're bringing in the money.
Well,
you can pretty much do whatever you want to do, even to the point of taking some young men in their lives and basically throw them in the trash.
I think the money, if the program does go on, I think most of the money that is made from the football program should be donated to child abuse organizations. I think scholarships should be taken away and perhaps a bowl game.
Oh, okay, now think about this, though. You know, and maybe, you know, what you're saying, I could see them doing some of that, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But if you are going to punish teams severely for guys getting tattoos and for somebody living in a house, you know, be given a house where they stay in a house for a while, but then you treat this as if it's not a big deal. Do you see what you're doing? If you treat this like this is not a big deal, then that basically is opening the door to anything.
But you're talking about players that were punished. Why?
Well, no, I wasn't talking about players that were punished. I was talking
players
about
that committed the infractions.
Yes.
the players. But see, this is even worse.
Oh, I'm not saying
this
is the worst
These are
I've
people
ever
who are supposed to be
seen.
more
People in
responsible.
power.
These are people in power. These are people
Yes.
that are supposed to be in charge of protecting the
But
children
they're
and the young
now
men and women that
removed.
go out there. Think about it. Would you want any of your children be looked over by somebody with that type of character?
Okay, on that note, I have to take another quick break, but we're going to ask you that same question. What do you think should happen to the current Penn State football program, and what do you think about that statue? Everybody's talking about that statue, so we're going to find out. Our Facebook page is going crazy. We're going to respond and give you a chance to respond and read some of your responses when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm checking my Facebook page. It's about to explode as we ask the question, what should happen to the Penn State football team and the program going forward? Let's read some of them and then get some response from our guest. Mario says, why make the team suffer for something they had nothing to do with? The kids on this team had nothing to do with what's happened in the past. Jean says, I agree with Mario. Do you think they would ban football from the Eagles if there was a coach there molesting kids? I don't think so. John says, I'm trying to think ahead to what people will think when Penn State fans chant, we are Penn State. If PSU takes no significant action to show it's truly restructured its priorities away from football, then that chant will essentially mean we are Penn State and football is still king. James says, punish the whole program for the actions of a few. Crap. That means the innocent players lose a lifetime opportunity to play this year. That's not fair. Talk about not fair, Tom. What do you think about some of those comments? It's not fair what your client had to go through, that's for sure.
My client is going to suffer a lifetime as a result of the inactions of Joe Paterno, the lack of responsibility of others, including the president of the university. There's going to be some dislocation. Make no mistake about it. There is going to be a punishment. There's going to be dislocation. And if Penn State acts now, then some of the young men who are on this team will have an opportunity to play elsewhere.
Would your client get satisfaction out of seeing the football program punished, or is he more interested in having the climate and the leaders punished for their role in it?
The most important thing is that the focus is not taken off of the criminal process and the civil claims. In the civil claims, we'll have responsibility, true responsibility assessed. The football program, however, is symbolic, and it's symbolic in a way that is very public and very meaningful.
So if nothing is done, what kind of message do you think that sends?
Well, it clearly sends a message that, football is everything. That just win out there on the football field and doesn't matter what happens off of it. Everything is fine. Just win. Just find a way to win during the game. Make a play and do whatever you got to do. It doesn't matter.
Years as a sports journalist and an athlete, do you think that the culture at Penn State will allow it to take the first move, as Tom suggests, and take sanctions against itself?
Well, I think that they're going to be forced to.
Does that prevent the NCAA from taking sanctions as well?
Well,
or just kind of head them off at the pass?
Well, I think the NCAA is kind of watching. I think that they've got a chance to probably make them less by stepping forward and doing the right thing, quote unquote.
The right thing is, this is going to be so vital for the future of Penn State. Up until the free report, their alumni donations were hitting record numbers. If they don't do the right thing now, will people pull away, do you think, psychologically?
Psychologically, I think that, yes, some people may pull away, but other people still support Penn State, not the football program so much, but the whole university as a whole. And I think that they will still get donations. But I also believe this is really about the victims, as you know, and that something does need to be done here.
Okay. One thing, we only have 1 minute left, but one thing that people have been talking about is this statue. And it was compared to a Catholic church. If you had a statue of a priest who raised millions of dollars for the Catholic Church, but he was convicted of molesting someone, would you keep that statue up? Can you see a parallel between that and Joe Paterno's statue?
Sure, you can see other parallels.